Ladies and gentlemen, hello. I have recently received several people asking me the same question. Why do you prefer coal to propane? The answer is, I don't necessarily prefer coal to propane. I prefer whichever is the most efficient or adequate tool for the job. For instance, if I'm doing a scroll work like this, I'm mostly going to be using coal because of coal's attributes. Coal is really good at doing really short, really high heats. So if I'm doing scrolls where I've got this motif that has 3 scrolls in one section, I can preform my scrolls, set everything up, do a forge weld that's only 3 inches long, and then not have to worry about whether or not I'm going to distort these scrolls while I'm doing this forge weld, because the forge weld's all that's in the fire. It is really, really good at that. The other thing that's really nice about coal is that it doesn't matter how big the piece is that I'm working on. For instance, this is 28, 29 inches long and about 8 or so inches wide. It's really hard to fit something like that in a gas forge, unless you have a monstrous gas forge. A coal, it doesn't matter. Whatever section I need hot, I can just stick that section in, rock and roll. I can just do section by section and get whatever size bar done that I want. However, if I'm doing batch work where I'm doing bottle openers, small hunting knives, something where I'm doing a bunch of something, coal may not be the right answer for that, because coal gets really freaking hot, obscenely freaking hot. You can turn something into a puddle like that. It's gone. So you spend a little too long at the anvil, you come back to your forge, your stuff's just gone. So propane is probably the best choice if you're going to be doing batch work. If you're doing a single bar of Damascus, coal's not a bad choice. If you're doing 2 or 3 bars of Damascus, propane is definitely the answer. Propane is really good and really consistent, especially if you have one of those fancy ribbon burners. Fantastic. You can super dial that thing in and get exactly the temperatures you're wanting. No matter how many billets of Damascus you're doing, you can build a giant forge and do like 8 billets if you want. But the main difference is the size of space you have to work with and how quickly things get hot and how long of a heat you can take. That's really the main difference between coal and propane. So if you're doing something like this, coal's probably the answer. If you're doing batch work or you're doing multiples of whatever, billets of Damascus, what have you, propane's probably the answer. So it doesn't necessarily matter which you're using, as long as you're using the right one for the job. So that's my 2 cents. I know that there's as many answers to this as there are blacksmiths, but that's my take on it. There's that. Get out there, have some fun, make some cool shit, rock and roll.